Pewter Report readers, listeners, and viewers to another edition of the Pewter Report podcast, energized by Celsius. I'm John Ledyard from pewterreport.com. Scott Reynolds from pewterreport.com is here as well, and we are here to preview the Bucs against the Bills, a matchup that I think every Bucs fan and probably every Bills fan has had circled on their sports calendar since the beginning, since the schedules were first announced and they knew when this game was happening. This one has been written down. A lot of people dubbed it as the Super Bowl preview for this upcoming year, Scott, and maybe it still will be that. There's certainly good odds for both of these teams to reach the Super Bowl still, despite the fact the Bills have struggled a bit lately, and the Bucs have lost to two teams that most people would not have expected them to lose to this year. I think both of these teams still lead a lot of odds makers in terms of the Super Bowls. I know the Patriots have joined that mix as well, but the Bills are in the Bucs. This is a matchup to be everything that people try, that say, oh, this is my favorite game of the season. This kind of has everything on paper to point toward that.
Yes, I would agree with I don't know if I should call you Uncle Mike, because I have a Mike Reynolds who's my uncle. I don't know if maybe we're cousins. Maybe Mike's my cousin, long lost brother. I don't know, but I agree with Mike. I think the Super Bowl preview, if the Bucs are going to make the Super Bowl, is going to be against the Patriots. But this is going to be a playoff-like atmosphere for sure. I really think that when you look, and I think this is part of the reason why Tom Brady said that this next game is the most important one, because when you look at the landscape, John, this team just vanquished the Falcons. They're not going to make the playoffs this year. I seriously doubt it. The Panthers, I think, are going to get swept by Tampa Bay. The Saints are going nowhere fast. I expect that to be a win. The Jets are the Jets, right? Sorry, Matt Matera, but that's the truth. So this is like the lone remaining playoff caliber team left on Tampa Bay's schedule, really the last measuring stick game. Not to say that the Buccaneers can't shoot themselves in the foot and lose any of these games coming up, because on any given Sunday. But this game has playoff implications for both teams. The Bucs with their playoff seeding, same with the Bills. As Bruce Arians said, this is going to be a playoff caliber atmosphere at Ray J on Sunday, and I like the Bucs' chances, but this is going to be a big game.
Yeah, there's so much to get into with this game. There is kind of this recent narrative around the Bills, and then there's their season-long big picture narrative. And I can't wait to dive into this and kind of separate the two a little bit, at least in my mind. I feel like there's some real misconceptions existing about the Bills right now. So want to address those for sure and talk about them. So Andre, appreciate that. John and Scott on our Wednesday evenings became a classic. Can't miss it. Glad to hear that, Andre. We're going to dive deep into this matchup. But first, Scott, it's all brought to you by our friends over at Celsius. Celsius powers active lives every day with essential functional energy. And I'm rocking the sparkling Wildberry today. Give it a shout in the chat if you are whatever Celsius you're drinking. You got the Fuji apple pear there, Scott. I know. We've seen a bunch of different flavors pop up in the chat recently. But, Scott, the most amazing thing about Celsius, no sugar, gives you all the essential energy you need. Right. No sugar like in other energy drinks, and no crash either from Celsius energy drinks. Gives you the energy you need to kind of sustain you throughout the day, but you don't get a lot of the bad stuff you get with other energy drinks, and you still get great flavor and taste.
No doubt about it. And I love the days when I don't forget to drink my Celsius. I hate the days when I do. And it's all about timing, John, because listen, with Celsius, it's no joke, right? This is a product that will work. It will give you the energy without that crash. But for me, and everyone's different, but for me, if I don't take it by 3 p.m., if I start to do it right now, it's going to be a long night. I better be working late into the night. It better be a game day. Sometimes I'll do that. Sometimes I'll use some strategy, and I'll wait until about 3 o'clock if it's going to be a 4:25 or certainly a nighttime kickoff to give me that energy I need. Otherwise, I won't go to sleep because it works so well.
Yeah, it's great stuff. And I would be remiss too if I didn't mention the fast protein bars as well. You can click a link in the YouTube description and check out Celsius's fast protein bars, the best tasting protein bars I have ever had. There's two different kinds, white chocolate cookies and cream, caramel peanut crunch. They're both outstanding. We've just got a couple boxes in, and so we're living it up and enjoying them again. But these are terrific protein bars. They're terrific for you. There's hardly any sugar in them, and they're tons of 20 grams of protein in them. So if you're looking for a great protein bar, I've dropped some LBs here, Scott. I'm just going to be honest with you. Your boy over here is cutting some weight. I've lost about 7 or 8 pounds over the last month.
Good for you.
Yeah, so these have helped for sure.
Thanks for giving it to me, John. Appreciate
it. Hey, Celsius fast protein bars. There you go. That's your answer. All right, let's get into this matchup a little bit, Scott, because let's just talk about the Bills defense in the Bucs offense as those two sides square off, because there is like this whole there was this whole perception, I won't even say misperception yet, that the Bills like are this atrocious run defense.
Right.
And it's coming off of recency bias, right? Because recently what happened? They played the Patriots and they played the Colts and they got destroyed in both of those games on the ground, right? It was primarily a ground focused effort and it wrecked them. And that has created a ton of concern for people, especially Bills fans watching this Bills defense.
Yeah, it has. And listen, the thing is with Tampa Bay, I always like when teams play to their strengths. And I know this might be a thing, and I saw somebody in the chat saying Leonard Fournette 30 carries. I don't think you do that. I think that you come out and try to be balanced to a degree, but I think that you try to throw the ball on first down and run the ball on second down. And what I mean by that is if you look at the Bills, they've been a little shell-shocked by the ground game, right?
Yeah.
They've given up a lot of that. So sometimes you can kind of outthink yourself a little bit, and they might sit there and think, well, gosh, we know that the Bucs are going to come out and try to probe our run defense, right? Well, if that's what the Bills are thinking, then you come out and do the opposite, right? Come out and throw the ball on first down, run it on second, and then the next series, use play action. I think if the Bucs can get to play action in this game, because listen, the Saints have got some really good. The Bills have got some really good safeties, right? You look at Hyde and Poyer; those two guys are fantastic. But I think they're a bit triggered, right? I think that if you can use play action, those safeties come up, and that's where you can have some opportunities to take some shots in the intermediate and deep passing game, because they've been so wired to come up and support the run. And listen, these guys are really good when it comes to defending the pass, but the secondary without Trey White is it's not as strong. Again, these guys, Poyer and Hyde, have got a combined 8 interceptions between them. 5 for Poyer, 3 for Hyde. Hyde's got a pick 6. They've got 15 pass breakups between them. So these are players that you kind of need to contend with in the passing game. So why not help yourself and use play action in this game and sprinkle in some run? But I don't think this has to be, John, and I agree with you totally. I don't think this has to be a game where Leonard Fournette needs 25 carries. I think this is going to be a shootout to begin with. So why not throw the ball, play to your strengths, but use play action to manipulate those safeties and help out your receivers?
Yeah, it's such an interesting matchup because people are going to think back over 2 of the last 3 games, the Colts and Patriots game, and they might think back even to the Titans game when the Titans had Derrick Henry. Henry ran for, I think, 143 on them. They averaged like over 7 yards a carry on the Bills. And all that's true in those 3 games. Yet despite all that, against 3 teams that absolutely know how to run the football, have been consistently productive in that area year after year, have been great at removing the ball on the ground, have a diverse and accomplished run scheme, all of those kind of things, have even built their offenses, let's say, since Brady, at least for New England, have built their offenses on being able to run the football. That is what they do. Even when Brady was there, the Patriots always had one of the most versatile, diverse run schemes in the league.
They did.
It was the kind of the cherry on top for that offense at that point in time. Now it's their bread and butter a little bit. And so you are talking about 3 teams that is what they do. That's their identity. Right. And in those games, yes, the Bills have had a hard time stopping the run. But if you look at the Bills' entire season, they have not had a hard time stopping the run in general. That's not been like right now. If you look at their run defense, it's ranked 12th in the NFL after giving up 200 plus yards on the ground in those 2 games. Right. So there is like a very huge variance here with the Bills. Yeah. Like they have had those 3 games where they've struggled, and again against teams who that was their identity. But against most teams, they have not. They've done very
against
well.
Most teams, they're top 5 against the run.
Yeah,
really.
Yards per attempt against the Bills, they're 4th in the NFL. They're only giving up 4 yards per attempt. They're actually giving up less yards per attempt than the Bucs.
Right.
So that is going to shock people, I think, to hear it. But we are kind of living in the little bit of the recency bias, and I just think. If this was, I'm trying to think of a horrible run defense that the Bucs have. If this was one of the worst run defenses of all time or something like that, then I think it would behoove the Bucs to focus on that in their game planning. I just don't think that's what this defense is. I think they were a little bit surprised about New England's approach being is
Yeah,
what it was. I also think New England showed things that they had not showed all season long. And so
right.
from a preparation standpoint, when you talk about how to fit the run, they
Yeah,
weren't ready for that. And maybe that's on their coaches. They're going to be ready for stuff that the Bucs are throwing. Bucs run scheme
right.
is starting to diversify and
Yeah.
grow, but this thing is still in its infancy, Scott. This is not a ground and pound
It's
of
not
football
what the
team.
Bucks do best. They
Yeah, it's
throw the
just
ball
not.
best, right? And that was on display in Atlanta. And John, the thing is listen, and I've said this, and you may disagree with it a little bit, but listen, the Bucks run defense is the best in the league. It's fantastic. But the running game by itself, like if a team can establish a running game, and by that what I mean is convert first downs, like on 3rd and 2, run the ball and get another first down. The run game, if you stick with it and if you have success with it, can be an attrition-based weapon because teams will wear down. I don't even the Buccaneers. If there's a team and the Falcons had a shot in the third quarter before the Bucs opened it up.
Mhm.
If there's a team that can stick with the Buccaneers on the scoreboard and they can legitimately run the ball for all 4 quarters, you will see the Buccaneer run game wear down because that's just human beings, right? The running game is physical. The problem is where the Buccaneer run defense is helped out is on the opposite side of the ball. It's Brady, Godwin, Gronk, Evans putting 30 on the scoreboard, getting a double-digit lead in the second half that forces teams to abandon the run. We saw that in Atlanta, right? They had 100 yards rushing in halftime, only 20 yards rushing in the second half because the Bucs started to pull away in the second half, and they ran out of time to run the ball. So
Right.
I'm with you on that, John. I think the Bills' run defense is a lot better than they've shown over these last 2 games, for sure. And
Right.
the weather conditions in Buffalo, 50-mile-per-hour winds. I mean, that was
Right.
an invitation for the Patriots to just jackhammer
Yeah.
the Bills in the ground game.
And yet it
We
was
got a
still
super.
funny. I know, and I appreciate the $5 super chat here, Giovanni. Thank you guys for all your hard work. Brady is the Bills' boogeyman, 32-3 versus them. If AB is back, do you see this team as Super Bowl favorites? I'd like to see. Let's just see. Let's see what it looks like when he's back. I think it's going to be hard for me to say this team's favorites if they can't win a game like this. For example,
Yeah.
It'll be a long time since you played to that level of competition, and
Right.
even if you think about some of the more challenging recent games like that Colts game, there were good things. There was also 5 turnovers that occurred. Did you win that game without 5 turnovers? Can you count on 5 turnovers most weeks? I
Right.
don't know that you can. I need to see this defense, especially. It's against the first competent offense they've played in a while. You can talk about the defenses the Bucs have faced. They've
Yeah.
faced some decent defenses this season. But I mean, what scares you? Week 4, Mac Jones and the Patriots offense. They weren't doing that much. They weren't
Right.
doing even as much as they're doing now. And I
Yeah.
still think they're mostly sustained by the defense. I mean, the Dolphins with Jacoby Brissett, the Eagles with Jalen Hurts, the
Right.
Bears with Justin Fields at that point, the Saints, even though their offense moved it with Trevor Siemian, the Washington with Taylor Heineke moved it. Those are not great. Those are not good offenses at all, and they moved
Yeah.
it. The Giants offense struggling. The Colts put up 31. That's an offense that did
Mhm.
work. The Falcons offense obviously has not been good, and they hardly have any weapons. They have as little talent as I think most offenses in the league, and so. Yeah, they just have not faced that many good offenses. Defenses, I think they've been challenged by a lot of defenses that they faced. They faced some good defenses, but offenses that haven't. And I still think they've been leaky and scary. And so that part of the ball scares me. So we'll get to their offense, the Bills' offense in a second.
Yeah.
But good question. I don't know. What do you think? Do you see them as Super Bowl favorites if AB comes back, or do you still think? Do you think this game? This game is funny because it doesn't really. They're going to win the NFC South whether they win or lose this
Right.
game. They're going to make the playoffs. They even might be the 3 seed whether they win or lose. That might, if nothing might change in that front. They might end up being the 3 seed no matter what.
I think
but it still feels like a big game.
Yeah, if Antonio Brown comes back to the Buccaneers this year, I think they can win without him. But I just think it bolsters Tampa Bay's chances of at least getting to the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl can be a funny thing, John. It just can, right? I mean, we've seen Tom Brady lose to Nick Foles, to Eli Manning twice. We've seen the fluky, helmet catch. I mean, it's one game, right? I mean, it is one game. That's what makes the Super Bowl way better. And I love playoff hockey, but you got up to 7 games, right? You got up to 7 games in the NBA, World Series, etc. You better show up on Super Bowl Sunday, because if you don't, you're going to lose. And that's what happened in Kansas City last year. The Bucs were the better team that day. If you play against the Chiefs, 10 times, I still think the Buccaneers win, but they're not going to win all 10 of them.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen. So
Right.
they might win 7-3, 8-2, 6-4. I don't know. I think they win the Super Bowl because they had the right game plan. But is Travis Kelce going to have stone hands? Is Tyreek Hill going to have stone hands that game? I mean, a lot of drop passes. So
you could run that Super Bowl through the simulation machine.
You could
times, and are you going to get 31-9 very often?
No,
you're not going to get that. But it happened that way that good. It doesn't mean they don't deserve credit, but it just there's a lot of variables that go into it. Just getting back to this matchup though, the Bucs. I want to be clear though, even though I don't think this is a game where the Bucs can be like, oh, the Patriots just pounded down, the Colts pounded them, let's do that too, and we'll win. I don't think that's going to happen, nor do I think it should happen. But I don't think they shouldn't run the ball at all either. Like I think you can have success running the football in this game. I think the Patriots showed, especially, you can have success making, even though they're athletic linebackers, making them move.
Don't do it predictably. Right? Because the thing is in the second half, you saw this. The Patriots had to hang on for that win because in the second half, once the Bills had made their adjustments, you saw those predictable first down runs turn into 2nd and 13, right? You had safeties and linebackers just run blitzing the hell out of them. So that's why I'm saying come out and establish the run on second down, right? Like throw the ball on first down, be unpredictable. If it's 3rd and less than 3, run the ball, right? I mean, do some things that are a little out of character for Byron Leftwich. And I think if they do that, they can still establish a running game, but do it in an unpredictable fashion where it's going to complement the passing game.
I think the worst thing the Bucs could do is be to look at the Colts and look at the Patriots and say, let's try and do some of that. Like
bingo,
they're the number 1 ranked offense in the NFL. The Patriots put up 14 points. People can go all they want about the Patriots. They ran the ball like this. They put up 14 points. Yeah. How many football games do you win putting up 14 points? Not many.
So unless it's 50-mile-per-hour winds, which it was.
For the Bucs to do anything other than what they do this season would be foolish to me. Now, that doesn't mean you don't tweak for opponents, that are coming into play. And we'll talk about this Bills defense because one of the hardest things to do against this Bills defense, well, pretty much anything is hard to do against this Bills defense. And that's where I think the biggest misperception is out there. Like people watch them miss a lot of tackles and get run over a lot on their way to the Patriots scoring 14 points. I just want to be clear about that. Like it was a couple impressive plays, but they scored 14 points. And that's the main job of a defense, keep the team out of the end zone. So they did that really well, and they've honestly done that really well all season long, Scott. Just to give people an idea, we are going into week 14. These are the Bills' defensive rankings. And people can do they haven't really played anybody that much. Well, they've played some good teams, and these are their defensive rankings. 16.3 points per game is what they've allowed this season. That's second best in the NFL to the Patriots. They are first in yards allowed per game, under 275 yards. They are first in passing yards allowed per game. This number was low before the Mac Jones threw 3 passes game, but they're giving up 165 passing yards per game right now. That was still low. They were first going into that game. Obviously, a game like that helps the numbers, but I just want to point out to people they were still first. Passing yards per attempt. So this is just per attempt. How many passing yards does the opposition gain? Well, for the Bills, against the Bills, it's 5.7. That's the best mark in the NFL. So even when you throw against the Bills, you are not getting many yards. And I already mentioned it with the run. When you run against the Bills, you're getting 4 yards per carry. That's 4th best in the NFL. There's only 3 teams better. So even their weakness is a top 5 thing in the NFL, like right now.
You're exactly right.
Third down defense, red zone defense, it's all been great for the Bills.
The interesting thing about the Bills and the Bucs defense is they're mirror opposites, right? Because the Bills play great team defense in great coverage. They will get you off the field on 3rd down with an incomplete pass because they've got great coverage, whether it's zone, man, whatever. They beat you with coverage. They don't beat you with the pass rush, right? Mario Addison leads the Bills with 4 sacks. Greg Rousseau, good first-round draft pick. So far, so good. I like Joe Tryon Shoyinka better. But the thing is if there's an Achilles heel for Buffalo's defense, it's the lack of sacks. They've got 21 sacks in this year. The Bucs, we've kind of thought to have not exactly let the world on fire, but they have 32. They've got 11 more sacks. So I think that the Bills win with their coverage and not with the splash plays, where the Bucs, and you saw certainly against the likes of the Washington football team, John, if this team does not get sacks, if they do not get interceptions, takeaways on defense, then really the Bucs defense is kind of average, because if you ask them to win with coverage, they're not going to do that. They're going to give up a 17-yard catch on 3rd and 15. They're going to give up a 16-yard scramble on 3rd and 15. They're not getting it off the field unless they have that 3rd down sack that forces a punt or a takeaway.
Yeah, I mean, the Bills' defense I completely agree with you, by the way. Pass rush, the Bills are getting pressure, but they're not getting a lot of sacks this season. Right. It's a product of how long they make quarterbacks hold the ball, because the coverage is so good, and they don't blitz very often, so there's more variables to account for in coverage. And the Bucs have frankly struggled against some teams that are structured like the Bills are structured, that rotate safeties and that can bring a big slot down to match up with Gronkowski, especially how they're using him now, like they do with Micah Hyde. Jordan Poyer is one of the best free safeties in the game. They have no real star at outside corner as long with Tre'Davious White hurt. So that might be where you find a way to test this team. But they are extremely well coached. They're extremely fundamentally sound. And on crucial downs, they play their best football. And that's what I think maybe differentiates them from this year's version of the Bucs defense, at least, is that the Bills right now are 3rd in 3rd down defense. And they are 7th in red zone defense and 2nd in scoring drives allowed. The percentage of times their opponents have driven down the field and scored against them. They have the 2nd lowest mark in the league in that regard. Yet, Scott, they are also tied for 2nd in takeaways. So you mentioned the splash plays. They don't come in terms of sacks, maybe, for the Bills. Like I said,
but interceptions,
that's a different story. But turnovers, and some of that's a product of the pressure that they do eventually create.
16 interceptions so far this year.
It's hard to beat them because you can turn it over against them. They're not like relying on turnovers like the Bucs are, for example. The Bucs are 4th in takeaways this season, but the other areas I mentioned in 3rd down defense, 24th, red zone defense, 12th, scoring drive percentages allowed to opponents, 13th. So they're like average to below average in those areas, where the Bills are elite in those areas and elite at taking the ball away. It just creates a lot. It's hard to do anything against the Bills down the field, especially. They don't allow hardly anything down the field. Even in the intermediate portions of the field, because both their linebackers cover so much ground. Tremaine Edmonds is the bigger name player, but Matt Milano is probably as good in coverage as any linebacker in the league, to be honest.
Exactly.
He's just elite.
It's really good team defense what the Bills play. They lack the star power that some teams have, but just as a unit, they play exceptionally well in pass coverage, and that's going to make it a little tricky. Appreciate the super chat from Jordan here. What's the key in the passing game this week against the top-ranked pass defense that has the pieces, safeties, to match up with Gronk and bracket Godwin? Do you see shots to Scotty? How can we isolate Evans, John? What do you think?
Well, this is a really multi-layered question. You're right about the matchup with Gronk. That could be an interesting part of this if the Bucs use him in the slot. If they don't, I mean, just having a guy like Matt Milano that can carry vertically, and having a guy like Micah Hyde who can play deep or step into the slot, it helps the Bills a lot. Helps them match up on multiple levels. I mean, you could see Hyde in the slot in this game on Chris Godwin a lot of the time. The Bills have the unique ability to match up with Chris Godwin, I think, differently than a lot of other teams do. Remember, Micah Hyde was a slot corner in Green Bay. You know, he's kind of become a more versatile player in Buffalo than he was before, but he can wear a lot of hats. I think he's just one of the probably most unsung great defensive players in the game today. And so there's a lot that he can provide for your defense, yet they can also go smaller and play with more defensive backs in the field and ask Teron Johnson, who's very physical, nickel corner, good run stopper, good in coverage in general, just ball skills. He's full package as a nickel corner. They can ask him to match up with Chris Godwin as well. So unique ability to match up with Chris Godwin and unique ability to match up with Rob Gronkowski with the personnel that they have. I think that's why they're so dangerous in the passing game. The key is going to be finding a way to attack their corners on the outside. I think the Bills are so good in the middle of the field.
You really are.
Trying to find a way to, Levi Wallace and Dane Jackson, who's barely played from Pitt. These are your outside corners. Neither of these guys can run. So, that's where I think we get to Scotty Miller. We get to some of
Mike
those
Evans
guys.
down the shot, right?
Mike Evans, obviously, too.
And it's really going to be interesting, right? Because I said, John, you should play to your strengths, but really the strength of this Buccaneer passing attack is in between the hashes, right? That's where Chris Godwin and Rob Gronkowski feast, but you're playing a little bit with fire there because that's where Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer roam,
Right. I think it's going to be very important to run the football in this game, but to run it efficiently, not to run it a lot. That's going to be the key. Can you get something out of the opportunities that you have? Because if you become predictable against the Bills, I mean, the third down defense speaks for itself. The red zone defense speaks for itself. If you don't win first down against the Bills, you're probably going to lose the game. Like that's just, it really does boil down to that. If you can't find a way to win first down and even, second downs, if you're in second and manageables, your percentages of winning obviously go up. I think that's just going to be critical to this game, Scott.
Yeah, I agree. And I think too that we've seen in a couple games, right? The Bucs struggle with separation, right? That Washington game was a prime example, and that's where you miss AB. That because he's the one guy with the ability to break off those routes, and especially like on maybe some busted or broken plays, scramble drills, if you will, where he can create on his own, right? It doesn't have to be within structure, and so that's going to be critical for the Bucs and I think for Brady too. And we saw a little bit of this in Atlanta, and our own Paul Atwell did a fantastic job. Folks, if you haven't seen the All-22 film breakdown of how the Bucs used the fade routes to beat the Falcons, different type of coverages that they're going to see this week against the Bills, but still in those instances, it's mano a mano. It's Tom Brady trusting Chris Godwin to elevate and go make a fade catch. Same with Gronk in the end zone for that touchdown, but also using Mike Evans, 6'5". Might be a time for Tom Brady to, on some of those intermediate shots, throw some of those fades, those jump balls, and let Mike come down with them as well.
You're right. He needs to be willing to take shots outside. He was last game for sure. That was a great sign that they were getting that part of the offense going a little bit again. This needs to be a part of their game in this one, I think. And I agree. Might sound crazy, and it really does depend on how the Bills play him, but this is what's trickier about this matchup for people I know in the chat. I haven't even looked, but I know that in the chat they're saying, okay, well, stop talking about how great the Bills defense is. We have the number one offense in the league. Like, how can we win this game? Like, how, what are the matchups? Like, stop talking about like we have no chance. We just want to always set the table for the other team so that the expectations are clear. Right. When it's a bad team and we don't think there's any way they can beat the Bucs, we come out and say that straight up on these previous shows. I don't feel that way for sure about the Bills. So I'm just laying it out there for you straight. Here's the reality, though. The Bills with Tre'Davious White played a lot of man coverage.
Yeah.
They've in the past been more of a zone team. They have kind of transformed over time and become more of a man coverage team. Hyde allows them to do some things like that. Their matchup principles from zone are good. That Milano allows them to do some things like that. Some of the non-cornerback pieces, the reality is still that cornerbacks matter when you're playing man coverage.
That's right.
I have no idea because the Patriots threw 3 times in Trey White's first game out. I don't know what the Bills are going to do in terms of coverage. I don't know what changes because Trey White is their piece. Like he falls number ones. There's just you name it. Trey White brings it to the table.
Yeah,
for them.
It's just like the Bucs losing Carlton Davis.
Yes, except I would say Trey White's probably even a better player.
He's a stickier man coverage
he's
corner.
Better for longer than Carlton, at least.
Yeah.
I won't take Carlton out of that conversation right now, but Trey White has been that established piece for them. So now when you lose that, what do you do defensively? I mean, they were one of the higher teams in the league, I believe, in cover 1 percentage. They were well above league average, and they're way below league average in cover 3 defense this season.
Right.
So how they've prevented vertical plays at the degree that they have is winning first down and then going to a ton of cover 4. And then they don't let anybody behind them. So I say all that to say the Bucs can win this game if they take shots on first down. I know people don't always like that, win first down.
I agree.
Manageable situation. Their Bucs aren't going to score on every drive in this game.
Right.
People just got to get it through their heads right now. It's not going to happen. This is probably
I'm
not
all in favor of taking vertical shots on first down and get those safeties, not geared up towards the line of scrimmage, right? Because they're going to be anticipating run, and I think the Bucs should do the exact opposite. And I also think some play action passes, taking shots down the field, especially on the outside on one-on-one, that can work for the Buccaneers. We're about ready to talk the other side of the ball, abundance magnet. What with the secondary being healthier, who do you see Bowles putting on Diggs? Let Davis travel with them. We're going to answer that question in 1 second. We appreciate that, abundance magnet. Let's get this other super chat in here too. Caleb Jurgens, Bills have only beat 2 starting quarterbacks, 5 backups. Bills are a great defense, but also a product of facing some awful offenses and quarterbacks. What do you say to that, John?
Yeah, no question about it. I would also say that it's hard to look around the league and find many teams that are consistently good on offense. For example, they've played Pat Mahomes.
Yeah.
Are the Chiefs a good offense or not? It depends what week you look. I have no clue. Like
Right.
they weren't against the Bills. They weren't
Yeah.
last week against the Broncos. They have been other weeks, so, and it's the same thing with a lot of teams they face. They face the Titans,
Yeah.
they face the Patriots. Were the Patriots a great offense, scoring 14 points?
Right.
I don't know. Like that's kind of stuff you get into when you're saying, oh, they haven't faced any good offenses. I mean, I think that there's some truth to that. Here's what I do know. If you get to week 14 and you're at the top of the NFL in basically every single defensive category,
Right.
you're probably a good defense. And so
Yeah.
it's probably going to be I don't think it makes this hyperbole to say it's the biggest challenge of the year for the Bucs offense, up there with probably that Patriots game in week 4 in terms of defenses that they've matched up with. They can win it though. They could have won that Patriots game. They took some shots and missed opportunities were kind of the story of the game, right? They took a shot at the end of the game. AB drops a touchdown. They hit AB on a big play down the field. Patriots wanted to play man coverage. The problem was they didn't have all the guys to match up in man coverage.
Right.
And that could be something that is a factor in this game as well. If the Bucs can be aggressive on first down, when the Bills are wanting to man up and everything, then you could find some of those matchups down the field. They hit AB on a deep ball, but Smith got called for holding. And so it ended up coming back. They had Tyler Johnson down the field. Johnson messed up his route. It would have probably been a touchdown the way the Patriots aligned in the coverage. So they had lots of opportunities. They didn't cash in on them. They're going to have to cash in on those in this game. And I know it sounds crazy because the Bills don't give up any big plays either. We mentioned all the things that they're good at, Scott, but the Bills are first in the amount of 20-plus yard pass plays they've surrendered this season, and they're tied for second in 40-plus yard pass plays. They're just not a lot of weaknesses. So,
did you say cash in? Because
I said cash in, Scott.
If I'm going to cash in, I'm going to do it at MyBookie. I'll tell you that right now. And it's not even just cash, John. It's cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency might be the future, so don't get left in the past. Bet with MyBookie, and you can get in the game now. To get kickstarted with crypto or even with cash, John, use the promo code PEWTER to double your first crypto deposit or cash deposit at MyBookie. The best part is MyBookie accepts well-known cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum. So did I pronounce that right? I'm trying to get this word right. I even got an email on it this week, so apologies if I didn't get that right. So you can bet and withdraw with crypto. The NFL playoffs are around the corner, and this week the Buffalo Bills and Tampa Bay Buccaneers will face off in a potential Super Bowl preview. Both teams sit one win away from earning the top spot in their respective conference. But in this high-stakes game, bet the Bucs money line. I think I'm going to do that. Don't miss out. Double your first deposit up to $1,000 by using the promo code PEWTER. Head to MyBookie today, place your bets, and watch the sparks fly this weekend with UFC 269. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. And John, the great thing about MyBookie is you don't have to wait, right? It's like you don't have to wait till next year and I'm missing anything. You can jump in on the action right now. You can become a MyBookie customer right now and play for the rest of the season, the playoffs, college bowl games, NBA, NHL, MLB in the spring. MyBookie's fun.
Right. Agreed. Before we flip to the other side of the ball, just real quickly, want to answer some question. Mitch says, John, give Lenny some love. Yeah, Lenny, this is his newfound receiving ability is going to be huge in this game. I think I mentioned it with the Bills, the way that they defend so much cover 4, so much cover 6, especially as soon as they can win first down. They just we're going to prevent the big play. You want anything in a chunk, we're going to, try and take it from you. So I think Lenny's going to be huge in this game. Again, I know some people want it to be Evans and Godwin every week like it was this past week, but we'll see what happens. I mean, again, I think the Bucs being aggressive on first down is going to matter some, but yeah, I think Lenny's going to have impact this game. Right now, the Bills, the average depth of target against the Bills is 6.7 yards past the line of scrimmage. That's tied second in the NFL, second shallowest average depth of target in the NFL, meaning they're forcing the ball underneath a lot with the way that they line defensively. Now, the Bills are the one bad thing against bottom defensively, other than the sacks. Ready? Missed tackles. They miss a lot of tackles, and they missed a lot against New England as well. That's who they are. They're smaller. Yep. They're smaller linebackers. They're smaller DBs, and they're smaller up front. Even Harrison Phillips, Ed Oliver. Those are not the biggest defensive tackles in the league. So they have some smaller personnel. They're very fast. They're very athletic. They cover a ton of ground in space. But when you get a situation like Lenny one-on-one against some of these guys, he can break some tackles. He's going to have to do that in this game. That's going to be critical. I also would love to see Giovanni Bernard in this game mixed in a little bit more because I think his skill set can be really useful. So I think those things are assets to the Bucs in this game where it would obviously probably goes without saying after hearing me talk, but having Antonio Brown in this game would be huge, especially for the post-catch stuff. and the ability to get down the field. The question then becomes, Scott, what happens at wide receiver 3? And this will probably be the last thing as we move on from the offensive side for the Bucs. But that's a big question mark, isn't it? I mean, that wide receiver 3 and what he can create, especially if this is a defense that can match up with Gronk a little bit better.
Right.
What wide receiver 3 can create could be really big for this.
I'd love to see it be Scotty Miller, but John, you campaigned for Scotty today in your Bucs briefing, which I applaud. For some reason, Rashad Perriman Bruce Allen's just punch drunk on this guy, right?
Did you see I tweeted today?
What's that?
I tweeted this today that AB has never played as many snaps in a Bucs game as Rashad Perriman played on Sunday. That was crazy. Is crazy, Scott.
That was crazy, yeah.
For two reasons. One, because they really just said, here, Perriman, take the whole role. In a game that wasn't a blowout either. Like, this game was close most of the way. And they just said, here, take the whole thing, buddy. And AB also on the flip side.
Well, he was so productive too. What did Perriman have? He had like 75 yards receiving, or
80. 1 catch, 5 yards.
5 yards. That's right. Yeah, 5.
2 drops, 3 catches so far as a Buck. Yeah. Now, Perriman might dunk on all of us this week because he will have probably a very favorable matchup, especially with the Bills kind of going to the well here at corner.
Yeah.
So we'll see how they use him, obviously. But I keep coming back to Scotty Miller, man. Like,
I know.
In games where Evans and Godwin have been taken away last year, he changed games.
Yes.
Like, he changed games with 1 or 2 plays. I just don't know how you look at him and say we might not need that this week. I think they need that this week. I think it's important that he plays.
I agree. We appreciate the super chats to keep rolling in. William Butler, majority of good teams in the league have had a horrible game, but 6 points against the Jags is where I truly scratch my head. Yeah, it's crazy, right? Because weather kind of dictated the Bills, limiting the Bills to 10 points on Monday night. So throw that game out to a degree. But 6 points against the Jaguars, that's truly head scratching for sure. And the thing is, I think the Bills, the Bucs and Bills were 1-2 prior to Monday night's game. I think the Bills now, they've fallen behind the Cowboys. Maybe they're 3rd, 4th in the league in point scoring. I think we're going to see a lot of points. 5th now. Yeah. I think we're going to see a lot of points from the Bills just because their strength is the passing game. The Bucs' weakness, if you go back to that Colts game just 2 weeks ago, was defending the pass. And you've got a quarterback in Josh Allen who is better than Carson Wentz, same type of quarterback, but just better in the fact that he can get outside the pocket. We saw Wentz scramble for a 16, 17-yard run on 3rd and 15. Well, guess what? That's what Josh Allen can do. Josh Allen is the second leading rusher for the Bills right now.
Yeah.
You look at Singletary, who's just a pedestrian back, 4.6 yards per carry, but doesn't get a lot of totes, 495 yards. Allen is right behind him with 422. He's averaging 5.6 yards a run or a scramble. And that's the thing. The Bills will do some designed quarterback run game, John.
Why didn't they do any against New England?
I don't understand. I was waiting for it.
So weird to me.
It looked like they did on the one play, and I think it was this longest carry of the game. But why they didn't go back to it was just stunning to me. In that type of situation, I was really kind of I felt awful for the Bills fans because I think if Brian Dable would have used a little bit of imagination and go to like some single wing, quarterback run game stuff like Allen could do in college. That's the thing. The key, I think, is going to be keeping Allen in the pocket. The Patriots did a great job of rushing as a unit and keeping Josh Allen in the pocket. Where Allen is dangerous is when he's unpredictable. When he gets outside the pocket, he can hurt you with his legs. He can extend plays and keep plays alive. And this Bills passing game, John, is diversified enough. It's not just Stephon Diggs and everybody else. You look across the board, and Emmanuel Sanders is second on the team in receiving yards. He's getting up there in age, but he's averaging 15 yards a catch. He's got 4 touchdowns. Cole Beasley, he's slowing down. He's never really been that slot receiver that, say, like a Julian Edelman was. He has never been at that level, but he's got 63 catches. He is the safety blanket, if you want, for Josh Allen. Dawson Knox has been the red zone guy, the tight end. 7 catches this year, mostly in the red zone, have ended up as touchdowns. So there's a lot of different weapons that they have, and I think that's their strength. They were not able to show that strength with 30, 40, 50 mile per hour winds against the Patriots. If that had been a regular night, 15 mile per hour breeze, 20 miles per hour, whatever, but not 40, you would have seen a much different game. I'm not saying the Patriots, would not have won, but it just would have been a different game for sure.
Yeah. This is where it gets weird. To me, the Bills defense has been pretty much consistently awesome all year. You do throw that Colts game out there for consideration, but again, I just don't think that's replicable for the Bucs. So, it's hard for me to take a lot away from it. But what's crazy, I'm going to look up this stat actually while I'm talking, but the Bills have lost 5 games now. The numbers by opposing quarterbacks in those 5 games are astronomically bad, Scott. Like laughably bad numbers by opposing quarterbacks in 5 losses. That is bizarre to me.
Trevor Lawrence.
Reason for that, the reason for that, Scott, is because the Bills' offense has just been all over the place. And it's
just
so
not
bizarre
consistent.
to me. It doesn't make any sense to me on multiple levels because this unit has been consistent. It's been consistent under Brian Dable. It's been consistent. Josh Allen has consistently kind of grown and elevated his game. At times this season, he's looked like he did last season. At times he's looked like he did his rookie season. And I have no clue what the variables are to like determining which version of him comes out. Even drive to drive, it can look totally different. I mean,
that's true.
I remember week 1 against the Steelers, he straight up missed touchdowns just for no reason, just wide open. And then there were other drives where he was making unreal throws. So he has not found the consistency that he kind of enjoyed last year, which is pretty stunning. But he's still so talented with his legs, and he's so hard to sack. And that to me makes his floor higher than what you might think for a quarterback that's inconsistent with accuracy and decision making. You might think, I could have a 5-pick game, but he gets out of a lot of situations.
And John, given the fact that the Buccaneers have applied a ton of pressure and should have more than the 32 sacks that they have, because I was on the phone talking with Joe Tryon-Shoyinka today. I did an interview with him for my SR's Fab 5. He's missed 3 sacks this year, right? He's got 3. He's missed 3. Shaq Barrett has missed some. JPP has missed some, right? I mean, this Bucs team can rush the passer, but they're not 100% when it comes to getting those kill shots, right? We saw, was it Matt Ryan? Was it last week or was it Carson Wentz? I think it was Carson Wentz, right? Where Jason Pierre-Paul finally tackled him for like a 1 or 2 yard gain, but Shaq missed him, Sue missed him, right? These are point
Ryan, same thing. Guys. Ryan got away from Devin White and got the ball off. He got away from Joe Tryon-Shoyinka and got the ball off. So
these are point blank kill shots on quarterbacks that the Bucs are missing. And we're talking about Matt Ryan, John, who's not anywhere close to being the mobile scrambler that Josh Allen can be.
Yeah, it's a tough matchup for the Bills. If the Bills are playing to their potential, right? I said this, the Colts to me were not a tough matchup on paper for the Bucs defense. Now Bucs still screwed up a ton of 3rd and longs. They obviously, they got totally gashed through the air in a way that I didn't necessarily even see the Colts being able to do. Not that I didn't see the Bucs being able to give it up. I didn't know that the Colts would be able to take advantage, and they did. That played a lot better through the air than I thought. That's one example of one where I thought on paper, I was like, this actually isn't a bad matchup for the Bucs. But this game is kind of the opposite. The Bills don't like to run the football. I think they run near the bottom of the run rates are near the bottom of the league, and they like to throw a ton. So blitzes are going to be huge in this game.
I think this is going to be a carbon copy of the Colts Bucs game. I really do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you think do you think the whether the Bills basically story being maybe whether the Bucs can create turnovers and get sacks will be the key to whether they can do anything?
I agree. I think you're going to see a lot of 4 wide receiver sets in this game, and what they're going to try to do is say, okay, you don't have Jordan Whitehead, you don't have Mike Edwards, so you've got Carlton Davis who's back in week 2 essentially from his injury. You've got an up and down Sean Murphy-Bunting. We'll see about Jamel Dean, but Ross Cockrell, Andrew Adams, here we come. And I think that is the smart play by Brian Dable, is he's going to sit there and say, what do we do best? We win with Josh Allen, either with his arm or his legs. So we put the game in his hands, and we have all these pent up, frustrated wide receivers that couldn't do crap last week because of the weather. And I'll tell you what, too, I think the X factor might be this guy, Gabriel. I really do. Gabriel Davis. He's coming home, right? He went to UCF, and he was, as a rookie, he had a fantastic rookie season. Almost 600 yards, averaged 17.1 yards per catch, 7 touchdowns. He was their deep vertical threat. This year, he's got a little bit less opportunities, only 19 catches, 342 yards, but he's got 3 touchdowns. He's averaging 18.0 yards per catch. I really think Davis could be a guy in one-on-one situations that Josh Allen looks for to stretch the field vertically.
Yeah, agree with you. He could be a factor in that situation. Just in general, the Bills being 4 deep at wide receiver presents some challenges. Here's a good question I want to make sure we come back to, and appreciate the $5 super chat here, Abundance Magnet. But with secondary being healthier, who do you guys see Bowles putting on Diggs? Let Davis travel with him. This is something they did a lot last season with Carlton Davis, and probably would have done a lot more this season if they had Carlton Davis healthier for some of these matchups. But I do think Carlton Davis will travel with Stephon Diggs a little bit more. How much the Bills will move him around remains to be seen a little bit. But matchup wise, this is an interesting one again. Will the Bucs go back again? Kind of the opposite of the Trey White thing, right? The Bills lost Trey White. Now will their coverage shells look the same or different? Will they run as much man coverage as they did before, or will they get away from it and do something different? Will they be unpredictable in that way? The Bucs have obviously run a lot of zone coverage. They did last year too, but they opted for more man coverage as Carlton Davis developed, and as Jamel Dean has a proclivity toward it. Now with Dean, if he's back from the concussion protocol, which you hope the Bucs seemed optimistic that he would be, if he is, and Carlton Davis out there, now those are your top 2 corners now, and Sean Murphy-Bunting comes in and the nickel packages. Those guys are both better man coverage guys. So will you run more man coverage in response to that? And if you do, then how do the matchups work for you? I think that's something that the Bucs are going to get into in this game. But I do think you'll see Carlton Davis with Stephon Diggs a lot. The problem is, even if you take away Diggs, who has not had as good a season this year as he had year before, you're still dealing with a lot of weapons. Other guys like the linebackers are going to have to be able to cover in this one too. Dable will attack those areas of the field as well. So
and big John, let's not forget. I mean, Devin White is not 100%, right? I mean, you saw some clips. We were looking at some clips about Devin White, and that hip injury it's significant. It's he can still run pretty fast, but it's the change of directions, the fluidity that when he puts stress on those hips, he's not close to 100% right now, and that could be an issue, and which kind of brings me back a little bit, to Dawson Knox, because the Bucs have done, I think, a reasonable job against tight ends this year. Like, I'm trying to think, has there been a tight end that's really hurt the Bucs, right? I mean, I think they even did a credible job on Kelsey in the Super Bowl, right, with Levante David. But Jordan Whitehead is usually relied upon as a little bit of an eraser in coverage. So you don't have him. You don't have Mike Edwards to match up in the slot as kind of a bigger nickel in there. Is it going to be Sean Murphy-Bunting, Andrew Adams, Ross Cockrell? Right. I think that all of a sudden with Dawson Knox being a pretty viable target for Josh Allen, he's got 33 catches, 429 yards. He's averaging 13 yards a catch. He's got a long of 53. And again, there's 7 touchdowns, which is tied with Stephon Diggs for the lead, John, on the Bills. This is a big-time weapon that not having, 2 viable safeties in Whitehead and Edwards could open the door for the Bills to have some success targeting Knox.
Yep, absolutely could. Bills offense, I would have thought, actually going into it again, like so many things about the Bills, why are they at 5 losses? Why is their offense not ranked a little bit higher? It's ranked high in most categories. They're in that like 5th to 9th range in a lot of categories, not the 1 to 4 range that you'd expect them to be ranked, more closer to where the Bucs are in almost every category. And, I think part of it is that, they have not had quite as many splash plays as you'd think that they would. I mean, they're 10th in 20 plus yard pass plays this season, which is good. The Bucs, for example, they were 2nd and have 11 more of 20 plus yard pass plays. So, they haven't had quite as much success down the field as they've had in the past. A lot of that, honestly, has been Allen's accuracy down the field, which was not good in his rookie year or his 2nd season, but got a lot better in his 3rd season, and now seems to have some regression to it at least. And, but he's still so capable of hitting all those tough throws. You never know when it's coming. You just never do. So the other aspect of it that's interesting with the Bills offense is they're just terrible after the catch. 28th in the NFL in yak. They have not created a lot of run after catch opportunities for guys in their offense. It's not really how they're built. They're a drop back offense. They are throw the ball down the field offense. Because of that, they'll give you opportunities for sacks. Allen has not been sacked a lot this season. They're actually 4th in the NFL. They've only allowed 19 sacks, so they're only 4 sacks off the Bucs. But a lot of that is Allen running around buying time. I mean, his process of being not sacked very much and Brady's process of being not sacked very much look totally different. So yes. Containing Josh Allen and not getting out of your gaps and being greedy. And I am looking at you, Devin White. My gosh, am I looking at you, buddy? The amount of times I watch tape and just see him just go for it when he should be waiting when he should be going for it. That kind of stuff is critical in this game. He may even spy some, I don't know, but taking those angles, breaking down, finishing, not allowing guys to get around him and outside of him, all that is going to be critical for Devin White in this game, especially with how the Bucs tend to use him against mobile quarterbacks.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I think this is a game where really it's going to be up to the athletic edges. And as much as I like seeing Joe Tryon showing a rush inside, I think that's been successful. If they're going to do that for this game, John, in some obvious pass rushing situations, I'm putting Cam Gill on one side and Shaq Barrett on the other. And I'm saying those are my ends. JPP is not playing. Anthony Nelson's not playing. I'm going with either Ndamukong Suh and Vita Vea.
Wow.
One of those guys inside next to JTS. I'm putting a jet package out there. I'm going Gill, Barrett inside JTS, and either Suh or Vea, one of those guys to help push the pocket.
Yeah.
Because I want speed in the field to be able to track down, run down, hunt, and sack Josh Allen.
Absolutely. That's the key to the game. The key to the game to me is how much the Bucs are like, we don't care, run the football on us. Because the Bills run it fine. I mean, they're 12th in the NFL in rushing yards per game. They run it fine. They're a good rushing football team. Yeah. They just don't do it very often. Dable doesn't want to do it. And if you're able to do anything on offense, if you're the Bucs, Dable's going to want to respond and be aggressive too. And the Bucs need to just say, we dare you to run the ball, very similar to how they did with Mahomes in the Super Bowl last year.
Yep.
Just go for it if you want to run the football on us, but we are going to stop this passing game and we are going to get after your quarterback. And that to me requires JTS being on the field a lot. As a nickel rusher, as an inside rusher, they need to use him right now. The Bills,
totally agree.
If they have an issue, it's their protection at times has been an issue this season offensively, and it's gotten them into some trouble. They can be had up front, and that's where the Bucs need to win. Whether the Bucs quietly are fourth in the NFL in sacks, Scott, but it's off a couple of 5-sack games. It can come and go for this group. The pressure rates have not been great this season. They've been okay, but they're not.
It's feast or famine with this Bucs pass rush,
and it needs to be a feast game.
And unless the Bills do an illegal trade for Jalen Mayfield, which is not going to happen, I don't see Vita Vea or Ndamukong Suh, being those types of forces, unless they just anchor in their pass rush lanes and have the outside linebackers come in and force Allen to step up, and they get one of those grab sacks where they're locked on their guy, they just stick an arm out and drag him down. That could happen, but this is really going to be a game that I think JTS, Shaq, Cam Gill really have to use their speed, and I want to see more Cam Gill. I thought you did a good job with that in your Bucs briefing, John. I mean, he's been an impactful player when he's been on the field. Only has 1.5 sacks, but guess what? He's right behind Jason Pierre-Paul, and I'm not bragging JPP, but if you're going to go out there and play hurt and be ineffective, you're open to criticism. And I think that sometimes JPP has hurt this team more than he's helped the team by being on the field. And I like what Suh has done as a pass rusher. I want to see more from Vita Vea as a finisher. But that sack by Cam Gill, when I talked with Joe Tryon Shoinka today, he just raved about that. He said, listen, that was a speed to power sack, right? He got off the ball and drove Matthews right back into Ryan. That was a collapse the pocket sack. He said Shaq Barrett is doing that, and JTS said the one thing I've got to do to become a better pass rusher is use more of my power, because I'm strong enough to do it. But not be as athletic. The athleticism is there, but use more speed to power. And he says that the rushing inside has taught him that, because you got to do that against the center guard double team. So I asked JTS today, I said, do you feel the rushing inside is stunting your growth as an edge rusher? He said, no, it's actually teaching me I've got to use more speed to power, because if I can do that inside against the center and guard, I certainly could do it in a one-on-one against a tackle.
Right. Yep. No, I think that's great stuff. I agree. Speaking of the ability to win one-on-one, or maybe it's even more than that,
segue,
and
John.
maybe some pick twos or some pick threes. let's talk about underdog fantasy, because right now with their player prop bets, you can win up to 20 times the amount of money that you bet when you do a pick 5 with players stat line. So over under, Tom Brady throws for 360 yards this week or whatever the over unders are, probably be a little lower than that. You can bet over under on that and you could potentially win more money. And here's the thing, when you deposit for the first time with Underdog Fantasy, use the promo code PEWTER, PEWTER. You double your first deposit when you put that in, up to $100. So they're going to match that, whatever you put in. So PEWTER is the promo code. You sign up. Unbelievable interface. This thing is so easy to use. I just used it again last night. I love Underdog Fantasy. Allows you to do a ton of different things too. You can enter tournaments. You can do best ball leagues. I'm in 3 of them. From how's your best ball league going from the Underdog Fantasy Pewter Report League? Do you know, Scott? Have you checked recently?
Fair.
Okay. Fair. All right. I had Pat Mahomes as my quarterback in I had
Tom Brady in both of mine, and he's helped out. My other quarterback is Aaron Rodgers, so the quarterback position is not letting me down.
And I know there's some fans in the chat right now that are in some of those Underdog Fantasy Pewter Report leagues. So let us know if you're taking money from Scott or I right now, obviously. But we've got a couple more weeks in those. Those have been a ton of fun to do. So anyway, the Underdog Fantasy, there's tons to do. Use that promo code PEWTER, PEWTER. We had a ton of signups last month. We had a ton of people jump into it. We've gotten great feedback from people saying this site is awesome. The interface is great. It's easy to use. It's
the
clean.
Mobile app.
The app is awesome. Yeah, the mobile app's incredible. So anyway, jump in there, sign up. Double your first deposit, spend some money, have some fun. It's fun, man. It makes these sports games a little fun to have a couple, even if it's just a couple bucks you're putting out, add to the fun with Underdog Fantasy. That's for sure the way to go. Here's that stat, Scott, that I wanted to pull for you. Okay.
Let's hear it.
The Bills have 5 losses this season, and these are the opposing quarterback passing numbers. This is like an all timer to me.
All right.
Ben Roethlisberger, 18 of 32 for 188 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions.
Wow.
Ryan Tannehill, 18 of 29, 216 yards, 0 touchdowns, and a pick. Trevor Lawrence, 15 of 26, 118 yards, 118 yards in the year of our Lord, 2021, 0 touchdowns, 0 picks. Carson Wentz, 11 of 20, 106 yards.
Wow.
This is absurd. A touchdown and 0 interceptions. And Mac Jones, 2 for 3 for 19 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. That is unbelievable to lose 5 games in which the opposing quarterbacks did basically nothing against you. Is just extremely rare. Obviously, in 3 of those games, the running game was working, but still, it was more the Bills' offense was kind of struggling to find their way in those games and put up enough points. Here's my thing, Scott, as we get to the prediction portion. I look at this Bills team. This is part of my process. People know this that listen to this pod all the time. Sometimes they love it. Sometimes they hate it about me. And I say, like, what's sustainable about this? How did they lose to the Steelers? Well, the Steelers blocked a punt. That was how they lost in that game. Okay, all right. The Titans. How'd they lose to the Titans? They had a 4th and inches down near the goal line, and they didn't get the first down. Okay. All right. I mean, most of the time on 4th and inches on a quarterback sneak with Josh Allen, you're probably going to get that. So, okay. They lost to the Jaguars 9-6. I'll never watch that game because that sounds horrible, but but that's embarrassing. Okay. You shouldn't lose that game, even if it is by a field goal.
Shout out to Joe Cullen, Jaguars defensive coordinator, former defensive line coach.
Colts ran all over them. Patriots weather game. Bills got to the red zone a bunch of times. Couldn't get the ball in the red zone. Missed field goals because of the weather that would have won them the game. Okay. All right. So 3 losses there to me feel pretty fluky. And that's not excusing them. And that doesn't mean that they couldn't melt down too this season. That's been the talk in Buffalo right now. I probably have more friends in Buffalo media than anywhere else. So I see it all over my TL on Twitter. Is this team melting down? Is this like the falling apart point? I look at their coaching, Sean McDermott, Leslie Frazier, Brian Dable.
They're good coaches.
Three of the best to do it.
Really
I think
good.
their quarterback is really good. I think they have really good players in a lot of key positions. I don't think this team's falling apart. I think that instead they've hit some bumps in the road and they've lost some games. Football is a game where the margin for error is small, and sometimes you can end up on the wrong side of it in a couple of close games. I think that's happened. Flip a coin, and this team is 2 or 3 wins better, 2 or 3 games better in the win column than maybe they've been. And that doesn't that isn't to say that their record isn't what it is, and that shouldn't be considered.
Right.
I just don't see the record as truly a reflection. I think this team could still be the AFC representative in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I
They're
agree.
that talented, but they need to clean some things up for sure.
Yeah.
Is this the week they do it on the road in Raymond James Stadium against the team that's won 3 in a row, put up 30
Against a
plus
team
in all
that's
those
undefeated
games?
at Raymond James Stadium, averaging 38 points per game. I don't know. You know what I do see? I see Albert says, hi, tuning in from the Czech Republic in Europe. That's awesome. Listen, we're going to do this every Monday about 4:15 Eastern time. We're going to do roll call. So that was fun. We did it on Monday, had a blast. Gosh, we had people from around the world, around the state of Florida, around the country. So at 4:15, for about a minute, we're going to do roll call on our Peter Report post day after podcast. Hopefully it's a Victory Monday podcast. Every Monday, 4:15, be here for roll call. I'll call roll call. John will blab on about some awesome fact or statistic from the game on Sunday, and I'm going to hit that.
Blab on.
Yeah, well, yeah, you do. Yeah. And it's good blabbing. It's informative and entertaining blabbing. It's not a
Sounds
bad
like
term.
it.
but you're going to talk. I'm going to be putting up everybody's places of destination.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're going to do that every Monday. And one more thing from Monday. I was talking about the flags, like the victory flags, the Bucs flags. They handed these out. I found mine. This is one of the original ones from 1997. I think. No, it's the Super Bowl year, 2002. It was against the 49ers. So these are the battle flags. They handed these out, little wooden dowels here at the stadium. They do these for the home playoff games. So it's been a minute since Tampa Bay's had one. 2007 was the last one at home. So hopefully the Buccaneers will have a home playoff game. They should, by beating at least the Bills and or the Saints and getting the NFC South title.
Well, Bruce Arians has mentioned several times this week already to us how important the crowd's going to be in this game. And so I'm really interested to see, I think the Cowboys game was awesome, but it was, you were doing the Super Bowl ceremony, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
It was an opener against the Cowboys. And so that was a well-attended game, night game. This is an afternoon game. And, I think that it's against the playoff contender. Obviously the Bucs haven't really played a high-profile home game in a while, per se. A lot of their more high-profile games have been on the road. The Patriots, the Rams, the Saints, those have been on the road. So, this is a big one, I think. Even the Colts was on the road. So I think this one, how do the fans come out? How does this game sound at Raymond James Stadium? What kind of home atmosphere is this team going to have, especially if they could still push for the 1 seed? The other thing we haven't talked about, Scott, is that there's a lot on the line for the Bucs. It doesn't mean that it won't be accomplished if it isn't accomplished this week, obviously. But the Saints and the Panthers both play at 1 p.m. And so the Bucs play at 4:25. So the Saints and Panthers, if they both lose or tie, the Bucs can win the NFC South title with a win. So the Saints play the Jets. We'll see. I mean, the Saints aren't exactly killing it either, but and then the Panthers play the Falcons. And so we'll see. Both those games could probably go either way. But if they happen to go against the Panthers and the Saints, the Bucs will be playing for the NFC South title at 4:25. So that's just kind of another thing to have on the docket for the Bucs. Not that it'll be a distraction or anything, could be a motivation.
I agree.
But that's going to be kind of on the line in this one too.
Yep. Okay. So let's get to our predictions. We certainly appreciate that comment there. Thank you. We try to do our best to make you all the most informed and educated and entertained Buck fans out there. So that's awesome. Harbinger, thank you very much for all these super chats that have come in, guys. These are fantastic. Do we anticipate the Bills coming out in victory formation, the first pair of downs to set up 3rd and long for easy conversions against the Bucs defense? The Bucs have struggled to get off the field on 3rd and long, that's for sure. I don't know that would be the strategy or not, but that would certainly be a that'd be
a tactic, all right.
A tactic, yes. I would not
At
recommend
this point,
that.
I'm willing to try anything.
I would not recommend that, but we appreciate
being
the
on
super
the
chats.
being
Thank
on the
you.
live in-game streams and just being like, here we go, 3rd and 11. Oh,
right.
Here we go.
All right, so as John talks about,
Kenneth, I gotta address Kenneth here. John sounds like a Bills fanboy. Imagine, oh my gosh, should us Bucs just not turn up and give them the game? I'll say this to you guys a million times in here. If you'd like me to get on and say, if you'd like to listen to us get on and say that the Bucs are going to go 16-0, 17-0,
get your pom poms out, John. Come on,
not going to happen on this show.
Get the fans what they want.
Happen. It's not going to happen with me, especially. I'm always going to give it to you straight. If I think the other team sucks, I'm going to get on here and say the other team sucks, and there's like no way they can win this game if the Bucs don't beat themselves. How many times have I said that? I said that no way they can do it. I said even with Washington, I left the door open, but I said unless the Bucs beat themselves, this ain't happening either. I said against the Colts. I know the Colts are hot. They'd won 5 of 6. I said, but the
Right.
Bucs match up great with them. It's just reality. I didn't
That's
think it
right.
should be a challenge for the Bucs. It probably shouldn't have been, but here we were. Bulls defense.
Yeah. So John's going to give his prediction now, and I'm going to put up all your scores. So we've got some scores rolling in. So let's go ahead and you give us the scores for the next
put
minute.
on my Bucs jersey. I don't have one of those either, man. I'm just being unbiased here. That's all. I'm just trying to give it to you straight. But okay. This is very hard because which version of the Bills show up, it matters a lot. They could beat themselves on offense. They have been. They do get a decent amount of penalties. They do turn the ball over at times. They can get sloppy. Allen can miss throws that are there. Actually, he's missed throws that are there a decent amount of time. And good reminder here, Buck 97.55. If you're in the chat right now, if you're listening to the show, hit that thumbs up as much as you can. Hit that like button. Help us out. Improve our YouTube SEO. And you guys keep helping us bring new people to the table. So we appreciate that a lot. I picked the Bills before the season to win this game. And I think they're at that desperation point in the season. The Bucs, you could say it however you want. They're going to win the NFC South, and they're going to be one of the top 4 seeds in the NFC, and they're probably going to be a top 3 seed in the NFC.
Right.
That's what's going to happen with the Bucs this year. This is a big game still. I think a measuring stick. Here's my biggest concern going into the game. We just have not seen the Bucs defense play against a top tier offense. There's no sign to me that this team can do this against a top tier offense. There's just
they haven't stopped
the
them.
Cowboys.
Right? You look at the Cowboys,
Rams,
look at the Colts, the Rams. Yes, they have
those
not
are the
stopped.
teams those are the best offenses they've faced this year, and they've smoked them. So until I see them do something different in those games, I have a hard time picking the Bucs in these matchups because I think you need a defense that can be competent against a top tier passing attack. We didn't see it against Dallas at all. They got shredded. We didn't see it against, and I know they lost SMB, but he was the worst guy out there for most of the game. They got shredded against the Rams. I mean, shredded against the Rams. And so this is a weird matchup because we haven't seen Dable versus Bulls. They haven't played them yet since Bulls has been in Tampa Bay. So we have not seen these guys match up where we've seen the McVay situation and things like that. The Sean Payton situation. I'm picking the Bills until that Bucs defense proves me wrong.
What? You're picking the Bills?
Yeah.
What?
John,
what are you doing?
How many times have I picked the Bucs? How many times have I picked the Bucs to lose this season?
Oh my God, dude! Where's this game being played at? Did Roger Goodell all of a sudden say, "Well, the weather was a little blustery back in Buffalo. We're gonna give you a do-over at home, Bills fans"? No, John, no. This game is being played
many times have the Bucs
at
gone
Raymond
undefeated?
James Stadium.
How many times have they gone undefeated at Raymond James?
Come on.
How many times?
They're about to this year. There's a first for everything, John.
First time.
There's a first for everything.
We'll see.
Listen.
I hope you're right.
I have no room to talk because you are well ahead of me. I took a gamble with the Colts. They proved me right for half. Glad they proved me wrong at the end. But listen, I am picking the Buccaneers at home. Until this team loses at Raymond James Stadium, I'm not picking against them. So I am picking the Buccaneers. This will be a close one. This will be almost a carbon copy of that Week 1 game against the Cowboys. High scoring, maybe the last team with the ball wins the game. I expect this to be a Tom Brady, get him down into field goal range with a long throw to Mike Evans, Rob Gronkowski, Ryan Suckup, do your thing. Walk-off winner, 38-35.
And will they win the South? Or will the Saints beat the Jets or the Panthers beat the Falcons?
I don't know, man. It doesn't matter. Whether the Bucs win the South this week or they win it next week by beating the Saints, that's my other prediction.
Yeah,
you get 2 for
I do
1
think
tonight.
the Bucs offense will find some answers in this game as it goes on. But my biggest thing is, they scored 30 points. They scored 30 points. Well, that's what they need to score to win games when they play good teams. I just don't think you can ask a team to score 30 points. How many teams in the league are averaging 30 points a game right now?
All right, John. Here's your prop bet right
Celsius. Here. Last time I said I'd paint myself with a clown face. I'm not gonna waste Celsius. If you want water, I'll pour water. I don't know if I'll even do that. I'll ruin my chair here, but I'll do something for you if the Bucs win.
Okay.
I'll paint my face or do something for you for sure.
Yeah.
But here's my thing though. The Bucs are the only team in the league averaging 30 points per game. To ask a team to consistently have to score 30 points per game to win is just not. I think it's just asking a lot. So yeah, Todd Bowles, the Bucs defense proved me wrong.
That's what the Bucs did. They scored 30 points per game in every game after the bye week
in this game.
Yes,
against the Bills.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, I do.
They're going
Because
to
they're
need
going to
some
have to.
turnovers.
They're going to
Make
have
it
to.
happen.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I don't think they're
do.
going to score 30. I think it's going to be. I think the Bills are going to win 26 to 21, something like that. I think is what it's going to be.
Yeah, I think it's going to be 38-35. I think you're going to see
Oh,
a
wow.
defensive
Oh,
score
wow.
for the Bucs. Yeah, I do. 38-35. This is
Okay.
going to be like a week 1 shootout, man, where it was
Yeah.
31-29. I see some takeaways in this game by both teams, and I think that's going to be the score.
Well,
38,
okay, so for everybody who's
35.
always like, John, you picked the Bucs to lose all the time because that's all they remember is this.
John's only been
some reason.
wrong once this year.
Well, how many times have I even picked them to lose this year? Just twice.
Twice, yeah.
The Saints and the Rams. And,
right.
Sorry, they did lose both those times. I guess maybe that's my mistake. But but I didn't pick them to lose against Washington. And I've only picked them How many games have I covered the Bills now, or the Bucs now? 30. What is it? How many games have I played? 12 this season, 20 last year, counting the playoffs, 32 games.
Right.
I picked them to lose 4 times, right?
Yeah.
No, 5. I picked the Chiefs and the Rams last year.
Yeah.
And the Saints in week 1.
Yeah. You're always right. So you're going to be right again. And Buck fans are going to be pissed at you on Sunday because it's all your fault they lost, John.
I didn't pick them to lose to the Bears last year. I didn't pick them to lose to Washington this year. So I'm not always to blame. They can lose even when I pick them.
And you know what? I might dial my prediction back a little bit because 38 points against the Bills.
38 points would be wild.
Sounds a little high.
I mean, it's not like it hasn't happened. Other teams
I know.
Scored.
I might say 34-31. That's
41 up.
More reasonable. Yeah. 30 about 33-30. I'm going to settle with that. 33-30. There's my pick. 33-30 Bucs.
Colts put 41 points up with 106 passing yards.
Yeah.
Just you could run the algorithm machine a million times, and I just don't know if you can.
And listen. If for some reason it gets a little shaky in the game, right? If it's not looking good at home for the first time this year, then Bruce Arians might just want to put this guy in for one play because they are undefeated when Blaine Gabbert sees the field. So even just put him in for a quarterback sneak play or scramble, or just have him in there to take a knee right before the half. Just get Blaine Gabbert in the game, folks.
There you go. Blaine Gabbert. All right, there you go. Tomorrow, I'm trying to get somebody that knows about the Bills on this show so we can have some Bills Bucs discourse.
Oh, I'm sure that's exactly what our readers want to hear, John, is more Bills talk from you.
Not from me, from somebody else. We'll talk about the matchups a little bit maybe, and we'll have a good show tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern. We'll be back. And then and we'll also we're going to talk about the Pro Bowl a little bit tomorrow too, and the outlook for the Bucs and what's realistic, what isn't. Like how many Bucs should actually make the Pro Bowl team this year? What's looking around the rest of the league? Like what's a realistic number for the Bucs? What's a realistic number look like this year? I know everybody
Pro Bowl
the record and the roster. Yeah, but there's a lot of variables that go into it in terms,
I like it.
Including like what's going on around the rest of the league that matters too. So we'll have that conversation tomorrow as well. And then Sunday, we've got the full slate of stuff lined up.
We do,
for people. Sunday, yes, we're going to be at 3:30. We're going to have Pewter pregame show, and so we're excited about that. We're going to have Pewter pregame breaking everything down, preparing you for this matchup, talking about the X's and O's and the player matchups and all of that stuff, the injuries, of course, as well, and any updates that exist there. And then at 4:25 when the game starts, we're going to have the live in-game stream going with myself and Paul Atwell, and we're going to go through this game. We're going to do play-by-play. We'll offer in-game analysis and player breakdowns, all that kind of stuff while the game is happening. We'll talk about what we're seeing happen schematically and with certain players and the matchups and all those kind of things as well. So make sure you jump in there with us, 4:25. Y'all have been awesome on those shows lately. It's been a ton of fun, so we appreciate the heck out of y'all. Jump in there, join us for those shows. We'll have a lot of fun with it. And then we'll have the Pewter post-game show later in the evening. After the game, we'll do the player pressers and get our post-game content up, and then we'll have the post-game podcast popping as well later in the night. So it's going to be a fun day of Bucs content.
And hopefully we'll have everybody in here just calling for your head after the Buccaneers win, right?
I was praying for it during the Saints game, and I was like, please, I want to be wrong, because especially the Saints. Like,
I welcomed it when the Bucs came back to beat the Colts. That was fun.
Exactly. You got to. But hey, nobody calls for your head, Scott. You've been here too long. They just come after the relatively semi-new guy.
They pity the old man. That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody. Everybody's there. Look, he's ready. He's waiting. I will be there, John. He's ready.
I love it.
He's going to be there with a Celsius can to virtually.
Thank you all for those amazing super chats and great comments. Be sure to also tune in for hopefully what's a Victory Monday at 4:15. We're going to do roll call, which is fun. It's where you get to say where you're from, and I'll post them while John blabs away for a minute about some interesting, fun, cool stuff from Sunday's game.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Appreciate y'all jumping in here. Thank y'all so much. We'll catch you tomorrow on another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.